Good morning, everybody, and welcome to today's episode of Market Check, brought to you by BB. There is no second best live YouTube stream to talk about the markets. Welcome back. Happy Wednesday, February 25th, coming into the end of the month. We know how we usually tend to trade around at the open and close of our monthly candles. We're going to talk about it with you guys on stream today, as well as the fact that we have NVIDIA earnings. Of course, they're pumping NVIDIA into earnings. We'll see what happens here as we resolve into the end of the week. But I'm Snorlax. You guys also know me as Tommy. I'm joined by Tucker, Prometheus, and of course, Chef Jackus. We're going to have a great show for you guys today. But before we can do that, before we can start talking about the market, the fact that we're pumping, right? ETH is up almost 10% in a single daily candle. Is the bottom in? Is this the bottoming process? Or is this just a squeeze before a continued downtrend? We'll discuss on today's stream. But if you guys could hit the like button for us, that would be deeply, deeply appreciated, as you know. So you oblige, we'll oblige. We'll have a great show for you guys. Hopefully no soybeans today, but can't make any guarantees. But talking about the markets, right? Because we are pumping. We are pumping quite aggressively. Bitcoin's up 6%. ETH is up almost 10% on the day. We kind of started this lower time frame momentum drive right before the State of the Union. And I made this comment on the morning call today, but I think it's, love it or hate it, or rather him. What I feel like we're all trading at this point is kind of Trump. And the the erraticism, the theatrics, however you want to characterize it. I think that's really what's kind of keeping this market trading as I will call it pinned, but I have to imagine at some point, like within the next month, that we will not be pinned for any longer on the equities. At least that's what I'm hoping. And we can finally see which way this range wants to resolve, right? On the S&P, on the NASDAQ. And will the Dow Jones break back above 50,000, right? The infamous 50,000 level now. But all right, let's focus on the coins, because I want to focus on the coins this morning. Like I said, ETH is up 10%, Bitcoin's up 6%. We're getting closer to trading back into kind of these local highs that we set, I want to say, in mid-February. Also conveniently, not so conveniently, however you want to view it, coincided around the recent local low for Bitcoin volatility. So that continues to be what I think is going to drive Bitcoin up or down at this point. If you're a bull, you really want to see volatility just get absolutely hammered for the next few months, in my opinion, because if it continues to rise, you're going to continue to trend lower. Looks like everything across the board is squeezing, though. When I look at small caps, Palantir up 5%, Hood's finally getting a rebound. We're seeing, in my opinion, a mechanical bounce from tech stocks that got beat down quite aggressively on a relative basis over the last few weeks. But I do want to highlight this re-divergence, I guess we'll call it. We've been seeing capital kind of flow from tech into defensives. The Dow Jones made a divergence and made a new all-time high, and now I think we're kind of seeing the opposite effect, right? You look across the board, and tech stocks are up pretty much universally more than defensives. Is that because there's a larger mean reversion trade to see in those tech stocks, or is it a sign that's that people just want to go back to risk? The defensive bid was just a LARP, but no, no, I don't want to make that statement because I don't know, right? But we'll see how it all resolves. How are we doing, guys? What are we thinking about the markets right now? Is Litecoin really up 15%? What are we seeing in the markets, guys? What are we thinking about everything so far today and obviously this week?
Is that really 15%, dude? Oh, yeah.
You got to zoom in. You got to zoom in to see it.
You got to zoom in a lot. Yeah. Well,
Circle's up almost 30% on the day, which is crazy.
Look at the gap up. Wow. Is it going to do anything? Probably not. Probably more of this. I don't know. I'm not interested yet. What are you guys looking at?
Circle bottom is in.
Circle bottom's in? Really?
I think so.
Yeah, probably the low tick. Yeah.
That doesn't mean straight to new all-time highs, but I think it could be honestly, and I don't see much reason why not. It's down about 75% from the highs.
Hmm.
How much is it?
Let's see. Right now it's down 75. Yeah, it went down 83.
What are we talking about? That's the bottom.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Jack is just saying you don't want minus 99.
On Circle, no.
Back to all-time highs.
I think, listen, it went down minus 83%. AI agents discussing how they will be using stablecoins for payments. The technical is pretty clear with the deviation of the bottom. Crypto markets in the bottoming process from my point of view. I don't see how, and you're gapping up here through the critical level. I think Circle's bottomed.
Yeah, I think if you can get through like 83, you're probably clear. Get through there. Because this was thin, you probably go right up to 130. Do you guys have any of this? Does anybody own any of this?
No.
No?
I do.
I think it's maybe still overvalued, but I'm not going to get into it.
Overvalued? What is it, like 5?
It's not. I just don't think it's a necessary like asset. You don't need to hold Circle stock to be long USDC. I still think coin is probably the better proxy to be long USDC growth. But again, I'm not going to get into it.
I'd rather hold coin than that.
What?
You'd rather hold coin than Circle?
I mean, I don't think I'd like to hold either personally, but
yeah. What do you think about coin being bottomed, eh?
I have feelings about that. I don't know. I just think we're seeing mechanical bounces from tech.
Yeah.
At like the last level of support.
Tesla still looks pretty rough, man. I think. What else, boys? What else?
Hood's up.
Hood's up.
I mean, small caps, like everything that got hit over the last few weeks, I guess, we could say that, right? Even though a lot of these Mag 7 names really haven't moved. It's more the small caps that moved. They're seeing bounces, right? Because they should. It's rare that you just go straight down in a straight line. I don't really think that Hood is going to form a bottom out of this structure, but it makes sense that we bounce out of this gap to some degree. And I think we're seeing that across the board, right? Like a Microsoft, for example, bouncing at a level that it probably should.
Mm-hmm.
Software bouncing at a level that it probably should. Palantir bouncing at a level that it probably should.
I just think Hood's hanging out in no man's land right now.
I had a good feeling they were going to crush the VIX at some point this week. But I also don't think that it's going to be trading lower than like 17. The floor for Vol keeps rising, in my opinion.
Yeah, they're gonna need to bring it up here.
I could see them take it like equities to a high. I just am pretty skeptical. I'm skeptical not only that they can do that, but that there's actually going to be continuation after the fact. But because skew got so ridiculous last week, I've been making the comment, like, I would not be shocked if they took the S&P to a new high, if they took maybe the Dow to a new all-time high. But I think if they did do that, I kind of feel like that's just a home run spot to be ripping shorts on equities. But you have to be careful, right? Because if you're shorting here and equities do make an all-time high, most of the contracts for May and for June they're gonna get absolutely crushed. So it's kind of an interesting spot, in my opinion, from a positioning standpoint, because if you're bearish, you have to be able to manage that that risk to downside positioning.
Guys said look at others Bitcoin. No.
Uni is up nearly 20%.
Oh, really? Are they
Yeah.
finally starting to do the shares, like the buyback kind of like revenue share model? Is that implemented, or is? I know they talked about it for some time, and I don't know if they ever implemented it.
I'm not sure if
Yeah.
there is not some legal problems to do that, but
Yeah.
about like 2 weeks ago, we got the announcement that BlackRock is going to start buying the Uni token.
Oh, really?
That caused the prices to surge for the day. Then it retraced entirely right after.
Mhm.
Since then, it's ranged, and now it's up 20% again.
Oh yeah, I see that candle. Nice.
Yeah.
Uni
Yeah.
chart.
A lot of these, like even on Bitcoin, it does look like, I mean, the majority of these charts look pretty similar to me, where,
True.
as long as they haven't been down straight only, I mean, there's pretty decent liquidity trails on the way up for further upside, that is, especially on Hyperliquid. Like Hyperliquid looks primed for like 32. Like take out that high that we set back in 2 weeks ago.
I agree.
Yeah. And then people are gonna be like, oh, this is like a deviation to the lows, inverse head and shoulders. Probably enters into like a prolonged reaccumulation period, similar to like what Solana did. I know that's a comparison that a lot of people are making right now, is the Solana Hyperliquid charts. And then I think Hyperliquid is going to be a fantastic buy, like genuinely.
Yeah, I think you could get this high. I don't think it's going to get back up to this quite yet.
No.
$32, then $8. Yeah, I guess. Little shoulder. We'll see.
Generational bottoms in, man. You didn't long.
You didn't buy the State of the Union address?
Honestly, when I realized like that we were probably pumping to front run the State of the Union address, I just kind of laughed. I was like, you know what? That is kind of the state of things. We are, at least crypto is just becoming like very correlated with Trump action, right?
But how do you explain the post State of the Union pump, Tommy?
Momentum, man, momentum.
You didn't stand for me. Yeah, there was a whole standing thing going on.
Dude, my thing right now is like, sorry.
What if some of these coins like Uni is literally a generational buy, and we are all looking at it and are like, yeah, that's nice, but I'm not buying it I mean,
Yeah.
like if you think about Uni, it just swept its 2022 low, right? It's been going sideways for 4 years here since 2022 low in June. And BlackRock just announced that they are partnering with them, that they are going on chain and they will buy the token. And like maybe it's that obvious, and Uni goes to 50 now that it's at 4, and we are looking at it and are like, not interested. That's not gonna happen. Maybe it doesn't, but like, what if?
Definitely could. But yeah, that's the question, right? It's like, why is that not enough? I guess you might be buying it, Jackets, but like, why are those catalysts you said not enough? For most people.
Perhaps they are. Perhaps they are.
Maybe they are.
And like, I mean, we think of it from crypto terms, and we think like, oh my god, this ranged for 4 years. It's totally dead, right? But everyone keeps using Uni. And when I think of stocks, I mean, they've been going sideways for 8 years, 10 years, and it's like totally normal before they pump a lot. And like, how is 4 years that long for something, right? Again, in crypto terms, that feels like eternity, but in real market terms, it's very little.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just trying to be open to the other situation, to the other outcome. I'm not saying I'm buying Uni right now and expecting it to go to 50, but like, what if?
Yeah.
I do think that the older coins, like every cycle that these coins get older, they're just going to be more attractive to me than especially everything that launched this cycle. I don't think that the stuff that launched this cycle is going to have any buyer outside of like Hyperliquid. But like the coins that have gone through 4 years or more of distribution of those coins, things that ran in like 2021, I would be more intrigued to potentially buy those at some point this year than I would something like, I don't know, like Celestia. We were kind of joking about that yesterday on the spaces. Just keeping an eye on Celestia for the forbidden INJ fractal replica. But no, what would be most appealing to me would be kind of these more Lindy tokens, maybe even like a Dogecoin, which I don't think is bottomed here for the record, but that would be something that I could be. I actually think that Doge could be a long-term coin that we look back on. Like, why didn't I buy that at discounted prices in that way? Yes, I am saying that. I don't think anybody's bought Magic Eden token for like months, maybe even years. If my puppets are anything to go off of. I actually didn't Magic Eden pump kind of hard like a week or two ago. I remember seeing them in the top volume for Coinalyze. Yeah, they did pump it. What a chart.
What's their ticker?
Me. These charts are just brutal.
Oh man.
USDT. Yeah, not much better. That's insane.
I remember they made it impossible to get the airdrop too, so that all of the insiders could sell at the Pico prices, man.
My big question right now is, are equities going to fall through to the upside in a meaningful way? That's kind of like my big question, because I mean, you can see that a lot of these crypto charts have some room to run here. Move a lot of that short positioning out of the market. And, like I mentioned earlier, the charts look kind of primed for some room higher here with the liquidity trails that we mentioned. But if I look at equities, it's like it's still kind of like a dull market for equities for the most part, in my opinion. Like mega caps flat on the day. If I'm looking at, the indices, NASDAQ seeing some form of mean reversion, I'm just like, how much room do we have here? It's kind of like my question, right? I mentioned on the morning call to the people in the Discord, and I said, like, I don't want ES to just like come up to 7,000 and like hang around. Like if you're bullish, or if I'm bullish, right? Let's say I'm bullish. What I want to see is like expansion. I want to see displacement. I want to see, repricing be well beyond 7,000. Like I want to see a 71, 7,200 if I am bullish.
Yeah, I think so too. I still think that there is that drop looming for equities, but I think it could be very quick when it happens.
Did you guys listen to the State of the Union?
I watched like 20 minutes
A little
of it.
bit. Yeah.
I think I put out a tweet this morning where I said, and this is kind of what I got from it, was like Trump feels like that kid in elementary school who's running for class president, and he's promising like free Skittles and Gatorade endlessly at lunch. And then they get elected and you're like, wait, why is nobody getting all this Gatorade and Skittles anymore? And then you like find out that's just like not how it works. And I think he's doing the same, where there's like a lot of promises, like, these tariffs are going to pay off the income tax. The list goes on and on and on. Like a government match on the 401ks and like all this. And I'm just like, and then like the tariffs are going to be supportive of all that. But I mean, these new tariffs, I mean, those will go back through the judicial branch, right? They will go back to the Supreme Court. And do we think those ones are going to pass? Right? It's really hard for me to imagine.
What is the implication on the market if the tariffs are allowed to stand versus if they're not?
I think it's bullish because a lot of the spending was and is derived around the revenue that's generated from the tariffs. And I think that if they, get shot down again, I think that, a lot of that, quote unquote spending and those like promises that have been made, like, I mean, they have no substantial footing then, right? So I think it's like bearish if they get shot down. I think it's bullish if they stand. Interestingly enough.
Yeah, I was about to say that's kind of funny to see that shift.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to stand, to be honest. So I guess we'll see how that goes. One thing I will say though, is I have no idea when that situation is going to resolve, right? Like do you know when they have to make a decision on whatever they just implemented like last week?
I have no idea, to be honest.
Because I know, yeah, they did like some roundabout way of implementing tariffs in a different method. But I'm not familiar enough to know.
No, I do not know when they're gonna.
It's funny how the market will care about these things, even cause massive volatility, and then you look back in a year and the market doesn't even care anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing with CPI, FOMC. These events just have like no movement, or they don't cause any movement in the market anymore.
But do you remember how during the tariff drop during Q1 last year, when you said that you are buying, people would tell you that like you are stupid. How can you buy? I mean, this is an unprecedented time in history. Like we do not know how much these tariffs are gonna affect the world economy. How can you buy? I mean, I I need to wait to see how it all resolves. And like the stock market has been up only since. So that's crazy, that perspective to me, that today nobody cares, but like exactly a year ago this time, people were freaking out.
It is
So
Where do we
I
go?
found that with the tariffs, the new ones will not go to the Supreme Court. And the reasons that the old one did was because of how they kind of like structured the act. And that these new ones are specifically for just the executive branch or based around, the president. So looks like they will be implemented for at least 150 days until if and when Congress wants to extend them or not. So looks like we have about 5 months that they'll be on.
5 months, you say?
Mm-hmm.
I think hype might be a decent one to short after this bonds.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree. Where do you think it goes, Jackus?
I think like 30 to 33,
Yeah.
like 31, 33.
They usually rip hype last because it gets that last little
Mhm.
push from people getting liquidated on shorts, that revenue going to buybacks.
Big move out of Solana and ETH today.
What about Link?
Oh God.
Yep.
Link's up 15% on the day. That's how crazy these moves can be when you are low enough.
Mm-hmm.
Like when the market is so low, a single day candle that basically changes nothing, right? It's just 15%.
I remember when we used to have those candles every day back in 2021.
Yeah, it feels like another lifetime. Or
Really
just
does.
yesterday, depending.
Do we like Link?
I do like Link.
Just like it feels like one of those coins that will never die. It's like the David Goggins of the crypto market. You tired, son? We don't get tired.
Mhm.
Yeah, Link will probably present a really fantastic buying opportunity. It's not going to be one of those coins, in my opinion, at least as of right now, that I could see, it doing insane numbers. But I mean, obviously it appreciates when the broader market does.
I don't know, man. Like, I think we need to be open. Like, it basically just retested the 2022 base, right?
Mm-hmm.
2022-23, and like when we think about it, I just discussed Uni, right? But Link is also one of these legacy coins, and I could totally see how we like retested this whole base. Now everyone kind of gives up, and as I outlined in crypto land, it's like forever, right? Like when you think about it, we haven't moved up since the June May 2022 low. But in like stock terms, this is totally nothing. This is like very short actually, because lots of stocks, they take like 10 years to go sideways before they start ripping. And I mean,
Mhm.
we could totally see Link here and Uni and the market be bottom, and these turn around and we see 60s, 80s.
Oh wow.
I think it's very much possible from these prices.
Man, could you imagine?
I
Wow.
can imagine. I'm trying to imagine.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Cool.
geez.
500% move.
500R.
Yep.
500, yeah.
Well, so the funny thing is that most, at least in the stock market, most value stocks, at least the ones that perform the best going forward, right? I'm not going to talk about tech because it was a little bit different, but a lot of like value stocks bottomed before the low in 2008,
Mm-hmm.
right? Before like the actual capitulatory bottom.
Yeah.
And I remember Michael Burry writing about that. I think it was like a week ago, talking about how these assets, like he was buying them as early as like, I mean, really realistically, before the blow up of Lehman, before that last leg down for basically majors. And yeah, they would have, the best buys for some of those assets were before the actual capitulatory bottom from like the large cap assets. So something that's always stuck with me. Some of these altcoins could already be bottomed in theory. But I will say I don't know that that's a chance that I'm ready to take. I would like to see the regime on altcoins shift to slow grind up versus constant bleed down.
Mm-hmm.
You know, 'cause we buy discounted prices on altcoins, and then it's like it gets even more discounted. I just want to see the type of the way that we're trading change. What you looking at?
ES on top. Yeah, we got ES on top. It's 2008. Coca-Cola in the middle, and then Amazon on the bottom. And interestingly enough, the more speculative name being Amazon. I mean, it went. I mean, it was up 30% off of its lows, while ES went and made new lows. It's pretty impressive. And I wonder if it's going to be one of those regimes where, I mean, we have seen obviously this flight and this rotation to defensives across the board, right? Energy staples, healthcare in some aspects. But they've done very, very, very well.
Stocks, by the way.
Sorry
for interrupting you, but
no, you're good. You're good. Yeah, I mean, some healthcare stocks look fantastic. I think ones that rely on the whole Medicaid model are going to have issues moving forward, specifically like United Healthcare and a few others. I'm not saying that the companies are going to implode by any means. It's just, I think they'll do fine. Just kind of like a revaluation period as obviously the balance sheets change a little bit. But I mean, companies like that are fundamental to like society, right? I mean, United Healthcare makes up I think it's like 20% of the United States population's insurance, and like Medicaid solutions. So, I mean, that's significant. That's structural. And I don't think that is going to like shift anytime soon, like I said, from a revaluation period. But kind of what I was alluding to was, this move that we've been seeing higher in defensives, typically we do see in kind of like later stage cycle, I mean, these generally happen when capital and liquidity is kind of trying to find that flight to safety. But I don't think that means that, tech and higher beta stuff is not presenting or will present a fantastic opportunity. And because of that relationship that we just discussed, where energy just caught the most recent rotation for moves to the upside, and if tech's leading to the downside, I mean, you would think that tech potentially actually is the bottom, does have its initial bottom before energy potentially, right? Because there are more sellers now, arguably, or there are long positions to exit in defensives where the majority of that positioning has been pushed out in a lot of these tech names. Similar to what we saw here in relation to DES, Coca-Cola, and Amazon, right? Where obviously, Amazon kind of bled significantly in the beginning parts, gave up a ton of its ground that it made here in 07. But once, you got to understand from like a market dynamics perspective, it's just buyers and sellers. And if there's no more sellers left in the chart, for the most part, your asymmetric opportunity is to the upside. Now, you do have to be selective in what you buy, because I'm not saying you can just go buy anything and everything, and buyers will magically present themselves. But if you do see buyers start to entering into an asset that has been discounted in a meaningful way, and they start to come in at, whatever opportunity it may be or whatever price it may be, that's generally a good signal. And to Tommy's point, like with altcoins, if we switch on over to altcoins here, like you don't want to see these, like, I mean, these squeezes are fine. Like there's nothing wrong with them. But you want to see like an actual sustained bid come in. And that would be great signal, in my opinion, that, whatever asset it is that you're looking at, that, okay, like, this is maybe one that I need to be paying attention to moving forward. Maybe it is like a link, a Uniswap, right? And time will tell. Like time will tell. And if you're patient and you kind of keep your eyes open, you'll be able to see that within the chart.
I do like DeFi as, obviously something that's going to resurrect. That's always kind of like been a thesis of mine, that the next time that we do meaningfully trend higher, we're probably going to see DeFi be the main fundamental narrative for altcoins. But now I'm looking at the DeFi chart. It looks like software. It looks like Coinbase.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not really a structure I think that we typically bottom out of. But
it's hard to imagine. I do think the Clarity Act will help a lot in regards to whether or not, the path forward, at least, right, for like the Uniswaps, for like the chain links, stuff like that, right? Maybe not so chain link as much, but definitely like a Uniswap and a plethora of other names like Aave. This kind of goes on and on. But, if that kind of gray area becomes more clear from a regulatory perspective, then you can kind of start to really paint the picture moving forward on what it is, that's going to be able to benefit from whatever structure is formed with the Clarity Act.
it's funny to me, DeFi will pump after getting regulation. On principle, I kind of hate
Irony,
that.
isn't it?
Kind of hate it, but
Think about that. That's nuts.
ETH is a Fed chain. Ultimately, I mean, that's the bull case, right? Is that ETH is a Fed chain long term. Shoot, have you guys seen Mr. Robot?
I've not.
Not sure.
They've talked about it. They call it eCoin.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they don't want to make Bitcoin an important part of the U.S. financial system in the show because it's controlled by like a bunch of people that we don't know, like anons and ancient Chinese miners. And so they were like, but with eCoin, we control the ledger.
Hmm.
Chat, I need to know, have you guys FOMO'd in already? Or are you still waiting?
Jesus, give me a second.
What do you guys make of this chart? Jackus, what are your initial thoughts just looking at this?
I don't know. I think like a little bit lower.
What is that?
This is the Bitcoin miners ETF, which I mean really shouldn't be called Bitcoin miners ETF anymore. It should just be called data center company ETF. But
yeah, I don't know. It's a interesting chart.
Mm-hmm. You had your Livermore cylinder.
Yeah. I don't know about that one.
A little exacerbated, but it's like, are we forming a shoulder here? Or did we form a shoulder here? You know,
I've definitely. Does that look like the SPX 6900 chart? Hold on.
Let's
It
look.
is so windy here right now. No, it's not really the SPX 6900 chart.
Yeah. Japanese soldier.
I have a hard time buying Bitcoin miners right now.
Yeah.
So I think I would say there's more risk buying Bitcoin miners than there is buying like DeFi altcoins right now. Both are beta to Bitcoin, but I just think, a lot of these miners, like, look, Jihan Wu sold his mining company's entire position of Bitcoin. That's an ancient whale. And that's an ancient whale. It's up to you to determine whether or not you think someone like Jihan Wu is dumb or smart money. But if it is a sign that a lot of these miners are just going to be selling a ton of Bitcoin, I'm, obviously wary about buying their stocks.
I know BitDeer. What's their ticker? Yeah. I know that they sold all theirs.
I got a kick out of David and Mike Alfred talking about iron.
Oh, yeah.
Day.
That was gold.
I guess this does kind of look like the chart that you showed a second ago, though.
Yeah, it's identical. I mean, iron made
David said he thought it would go to $4.
Yeah, he said he'd take out the April lows. That's aggressive. It's an aggressive price target.
It was a good space.
Do you guys think that quote unquote Jane Street manipulation is noise, or do you think that it is anything meaningful to the market?
I think it's part of the market, right? I think it's a part of the market. I wouldn't say that it's like, I think if you're blaming a 50% correction in the last 6 months and the 2022 crypto market on Jane Street, like you might be an idiot, but I don't want to be like too harsh, right? Because they clearly this is clearly a deep pocketed player with that does a ton of volume, not just in crypto markets, but just broader North American equity markets. I said this on the space yesterday, but the fact that Jane Street does 10% of all North American equity market volume is just mind-boggling for me to think about. When you think about all of the different players that transact in equities, or not volume, but the number of transactions rather. So they're very active. I have no doubt they're manipulating crypto on a lower time frame, but you know, Jane Street's not going to have more influence on this market than someone like Binance or even Coinbase.
I agree.
So
I completely agree with that take. I actually messaged that to somebody this morning, that exact thing. But you know what's crazy? Like you said, Jane Street does 10% of the volume. They also don't have to disclose their positioning.
Yeah.
Which is, I mean, a little criminal if you ask me, but
they're operating in a major legal gray area, in my opinion. Regulatory arbitrage is arbitrage, though. Right?
Yes, it is. Oh, MicroStrategy. Poor soul.
I don't know that you're going to get a bigger sell on MSTR until you actually see volatility go up.
Devol,
like that is what breaks the entire like crypto market is long volatility, because MicroStrategy's business is just selling volatility, is effectively what it is. They hold the Bitcoin goes up, they generate yield on the Bitcoin by selling, by covered calls. But volatility rises, covered call isn't going to hedge the downside of the Bitcoin that they hold. So, you know, they're vulnerable to tail risk, but there hasn't really been tail risk in crypto this cycle. You know, most of the downtrends have been very controlled.
Yeah, I know, like one of the, like, so this specifically STRK, which is the perpetual preferred. I know a lot of people, you know, bought this thinking that, oh, like it generates, you know, an 8% dividend. Sometimes it's even more than that. But if you look at like the net real returns, it's literally negative. From like an annualized basis. And I'm like,
the fixed income vehicle.
Yes. And I'm like, I mean, that's been a huge proponent of like MicroStrategy's business model over the past, what, 24-ish months, 12 months at least 12 months.
Yeah.
So I don't know, man.
I mean, it's not a coincidence that when Devol rises, you see these fixed income vehicles start to drop more meaningfully. I'll keep saying, I think the key to downside in crypto is all about Bitcoin volatility. Like we've now flipped it, you know, like for so long, Bitcoin vol going higher was with price upside. And now like that flipped definitively on October 10th. And now as long as we're in an uptrend on volatility, the market's going to be in a downtrend. So I'm interested to see how Devol is going to react coming into the low that we set on February 15th, because, you know, if we line it up with Bitcoin, that was the high of the range so far, more or less, around like 70 to 71K. So I think, you know, if we break that low on Devol, we're probably going to break that high on Bitcoin.
Yeah. Man, oh man. Bitcoin is a freaking rocket ship this morning. Oh.
Everything is nice volatility. Not gonna lie.
Yeah.
It is.
Oh yeah. Wow, look at these 30-minute candles.
Can we unpin?
All right, I gotta run, guys.
All right, I'll see you, brother.
All right. I think that's time to wrap it up, Tommy.
All right. That might be it for the show then today, guys. We have a bunch of team members busy doing back end stuff right now today, obviously, but rest assured, guys, we'll be back for another episode of Market Check tomorrow. If you enjoyed the show, though, make sure to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. We do these shows throughout the week, Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday if the New York Stock Exchange is open. And our typical start time is around 11:30, 11:35 a.m. Eastern Standard. So if you enjoyed the show, catch us again tomorrow around that time. Of course, also make sure to tune in for Market Talk, hosted by the legendary King Wabi, guys. We had absolutely incredible spaces yesterday. If you haven't been catching those spaces for the last few weeks, I definitely recommend doing so. A lot of alpha is shared, and ultimately, I think very entertaining as well. So tune in for that. Market Talk has a typical start time around 3:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So we'll see you guys there later this afternoon and throughout the week. But until tomorrow, thank you as always for tuning in. And of course, guys, stay safe. We'll see you tomorrow.